I know what you're thinking. This video won't include Crashgate, Spygate, or the 2005 United States Grand Prix, which are the ones that most of us are familiar with. However, it is true that they haven't been given the spotlight they deserve. Perhaps there have been some embarrassing situations that have occurred in these years of Formula One. I won't ramble on much more. You know, the drill, a short intro, and let's go through those 5 scandals. In 2017, we had a new regulation, a new way to follow the Grand Prix, new strategies, and also a track invasion at the end of the race. The most important thing about all of this is that the invasion occurred before the cars entered the pits, meaning before they finished the final lap at Albert Park Circuit. This can be very attractive for people, but the truth is that it was a huge attack on circuit safety. The problem is that drivers are not accustomed to driving with people on the track, and a collision can occur, which is super dangerous with these cars. Sebastian Vettel spoke about the issue, seemingly very excited about the crowd. It was crazy, speaking positively when the people invaded the track with Ferrari flags. It was incredible. He was probably so happy because he won the race. But the truth is that it is a big problem to invade the track before the scheduled time, as it can lead to a serious accident involving a spectator. Normally, spectators can enter the track when the last driver returns to the pits. This time, for some reason, the gates at turn 15 opened prematurely, perhaps due to some overly enthusiastic Ferrari fans. Fortunately, there were no dangerous situations, but we will have to investigate what happened. This is what the race director, Charlie Whiting, said in a German media outlet. Andrew Westcott confirmed that it was a signaling error, and there is concern because the process used in the previous 21 races they have organized had not failed before. The investigation of the incident concluded with this official statement. The investigation has revealed that it was a misunderstanding in radio communication, which led to one of the vehicles that allow spectator access entering the circuit prematurely before all the participants had entered their pit lane. Obviously, we are disappointed by the incident. However, we want to highlight the good behavior of the spectators who entered the track, as well as the track marshals who warned and redirected the spectators when they realized that the victory lap had not yet been completed. The conflict ended with Michael Smith, the director of the Australian Federation, announcing changes in communication protocols and the introduction of new safety measures. They would also consider proposals from FONT, Formula One National Teams Association, to implement improvements, although none were revealed. In a statement, the FIA highlighted that Ferrari was in a grey area of the regulations, although they were within the legal limits as there was no penalty. The statement mentioned that they agreed not to continue with this practice. But let's rewind to the 2019 Mexican Grand Prix. Teams like Red Bull and Mercedes suspected that the Ferrari engine might not be entirely legal because in races like Belgium or Italy, the car outperformed everyone else due to its extraordinary power. The first hypothesis was that Ferrari was introducing oil into the combustion chamber of the car through the intercooler. To explain it briefly, the intercooler is a part of the engine used to cool the air entering the turbo. The second hypothesis was that they were using more fuel than permitted, taking advantage of a dead zone in the sensors where the flow of fuel passing over them was not accurately measured. In response, Red Bull sent a communication to the FIA asking whether it was legal to manipulate or interpret the sensor data. The FIA responded with a firm denial. However, at the next Grand Prix in the United States, Ferrari's performance dropped significantly, which sparked rumors and controversies. The teams that did not have Ferrari engines claimed that Ferrari was using some trick that gave them an additional 50 horsepower. By the end of the 2020 pre-season, the FIA released a statement that did not clarify whether the Ferrari engine was legal or not. This only fueled the controversy further, but the worst was yet to come. The FIA announced that, following a detailed technical investigation, they had concluded their analysis of the Ferrari Formula One power unit and reached an agreement with the team. The details of the agreement remained confidential between the parties. When the regulatory body makes a confidential decision with the affected party, the FIA can be transparent, just like a football referee. This decision led to complaints from other teams, as it seemed unusual for the FIA to keep the agreement confidential. In response, the FIA stated that their agreement with Ferrari was legal, and that the complexity of the matter made it impossible to determine whether the Ferrari engine was illegal. The reasons for this conclusion, as stated to the Italian press, were that it couldn't be confirmed or denied if the Ferrari engine was legal. Ferrari cooperated in the investigations and provided sensitive information about the development of their engines for the following year. If the FIA had spoken out, it would have revealed important secrets about the development of the combustion engine and the electrical part with the Megwage and ERS. There are more details about this agreement, such as Ferrari collaborating with the FIA for the transition to sustainable fuels in the coming years. This generated controversy as it could potentially give them an advantage over others by working on future regulations with the FIA, placing Ferrari in a more privileged position in 2021. Almost a year later, Michael Macy, a race director and commissioner of the FIA, revealed that Ferrari had been punished for not using the full amount of fuel from their engine. He also commented that he didn't know if Ferrari would have a new engine for 2021, but confirmed that they could use their power unit again without restrictions. Now it's your turn. What do you think about this review of the Ferrari controversy? We skipped some details to avoid making the video too long, but the truth is that this was one of the biggest controversies of 2020 that still remains unresolved. Another scandalous moment, not so much for the controversy, but for the spectacular nature of what happened, was the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix. The wet start of the race was one of the most surreal things Formula One had ever witnessed. After the first turn, David Coulthard lost control of his McLaren and crashed head on into the barriers, creating a spray of water and hindering visibility for those behind. Due to the extremely wet track, it was impossible to see anything, and normal braking conditions were also impossible. As a result, after bouncing back onto the track, a 12-car accident occurred. In Formula One, several teams had a spare car in case of any issues, but there were teams that could only continue with one car because both of their drivers had accidents. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries, and everyone came out unharmed. Rubens Barrichello did suffer injuries and criticized the decision to start in those conditions as completely reckless. Today, this is likely the reason why standing starts are avoided in heavy rain. The truth is, it was very dangerous to start under those circumstances, with the cars lined up side by side in pairs. It created serious problems for those behind and left very little space for maneuvering to avoid obstacles or braking. Normally, race starts are orderly and with more space between cars, not to mention that they are done in single file, which is necessary to prevent incidents like the one seen in 1988. Furthermore, the presence of the safety car at the start helps the drivers assess the conditions, grip, and other useful factors for the race. Considering all these factors, the start of the race was an absolute disaster and resulted in a multi-million euro wreckage. This race became historic because only 8 cars were classified at the end. This race will be remembered by many as the worst race in the history of Formula One, surpassing even the 2005 United States Grand Prix. What do you think about it? Returning to the topic, we had a very interesting Belgian Grand Prix under the rain, with a potentially exciting start and a relentless battle for the championship between Verstappen and Hamilton. The race began behind the safety car, and after 3 laps, it was decided to stop the race because several drivers reported aquaplaning on the straights. The race was delayed for hours until it was finally called off after 3 hours. This race became the shortest in history, with only 1 official lap completed, and half points were awarded to the drivers. Perhaps the strangest thing is that Russell finished second with a William. The drivers agreed not to race, so suspending the race was the right decision. However, controversy arose regarding who should bear the financial burden of the expenses incurred due to the cancellation. It was agreed that the 3 laps completed would be considered to salvage the race and conclude the event. According to the regulations, if a race is suspended and cannot be resumed, no points will be awarded if the leader has completed 2 laps or less. Half points will be awarded if the leader has completed more than 2 laps, but less than 75 of the total distance. In Belgium, red flags are waved on the 3rd lap. In this case, Article 5.14 should be reviewed as it raises doubts about the legitimacy of the points awarded if the race cannot be resumed. The results recorded in the penultimate lap before the cancellation signal, which was the red flag, will be taken into account. Judge for yourselves. But this was not something that pleased the fans, as the organization did not refund ticket costs or do anything to compensate the fans who endured 3 hours of rain to watch the race. The drivers expressed their opinions, including Hamilton, who said it was a farce, and the only people who lost were the fans who paid a lot of money to see us race. Verstappen and Alonso also spoke out. When the camera focused on the stands, Alonso said, "My heart broke. In the end, I won, but not in the way I want to." Verstappen summed it up by saying it was a very controversial Grand Prix, and the words "cam" was almost used. The teams had several meetings to prevent this from happening again in the future. They worked to change the regulations and implement appropriate measures. Let's hope that such problems do not occur again. These last two scandals hit close to home, but the most notorious one is undoubtedly the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. However, before reaching that, we need to travel to the Jeddah circuit where another unprecedented event took place. It involved the race director negotiating with the teams regarding the starting grid after a red flag. Here is the excerpt that illustrates the situation.
Hi Michael.
Hi, I'm going to give you the opportunity to start from grid position 2 for this, based on what occurred at turn 1-2.
Okay, thank you. We'll have an internal discussion on that. We felt we were pushed off there, so thank you for that. If we could have a minute to think about it.
Yeah, if you can come back to me within a minute or two, that would be great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We would accept P2 on the basis that Ocon's on pole, correct?
We would drop you, we would drop you back behind Hamilton, is where it sits. Sorry, Jonathan?
Yeah, I thought you'd said...
No, my apologies, because I hadn't looked at it. Back behind Lewis.
I understood.
That is my offer.
I need another minute, thank you.
You have my suggestion. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll accept that. We understand the order will be Ocon, Hamilton, Verstappen.
That is correct. Ocon, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Okay, and you having a really good look at all that Bottas stuff and also Hamilton dropping back under the formation lap just now?
Yeah, I'll have a look at it all. It was a standing start, restart, Jonathan, not a formation lap. Okay, no problem.
This is like in football referees saying, "Hey, I can offer you a penalty, but it will come with a yellow card, or we can have a foul outside the box, but it will be a red card." I'm not saying that this has never been done before, or that the way teams and stewards talk is always appropriate. However, knowing that the call is being monitored, I would have been more careful with my language, because it can lead to misunderstandings and problems. Now, let's fast forward to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where everything was at stake. It seemed like Hamilton had a much easier path to win the championship, but everything turned around with Nicholas Latifi's accident and the subsequent safety car. So far, so good. But as time was running out, they wanted that dream final lap between Hamilton and Verstappen. However, there was a controversy regarding the lapped cars. From the race control, only the cars between Verstappen and Hamilton were allowed to unlap themselves. This decision greatly benefited Verstappen. It seems that in other races, Michael Macy, the race director, has a different approach compared to Charlie Whiting, and it makes me feel that we would have had a different ending. Perhaps a red flag or a safety car, just like we had in 2012 with Vettel and Alonso. Regardless, Macy faced tremendous pressure and nobody would have wanted to be in his shoes. The reason behind this decision was the desire for that dream final lap we talked about. But it was a decision that sparked controversy among fans, teams and Mercedes. They didn't stop until they managed to have Macy relieved from his position as race director. Soon after, the official conclusions of the investigation into the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix were released. According to the conclusions, it was acknowledged that there was a human error on Michael Macy's part by not allowing all the drivers to unlap themselves. However, it was also stated that Masai acted in good faith to finish the race under a green flag, and Max Verstappen's championship victory is undeniable and unquestionable. These are the key points discussed in the meeting we mentioned. The handling of the safety car procedure was a recurring topic, as the Formula One environment prefers races to finish under green flag conditions and normal race conditions. Macy called the safety car in without completing an additional lap, as specified in the regulations, and failed to identify the lapped cars that would be allowed to unlap themselves. In the future, this manual identification of lapped cars will be replaced by software that will automatically notify cars to unlap themselves, thus avoiding further errors. In conclusion, it's becoming evident that Formula One has its fair share of controversies. In addition to the previous scandals like the Crashgate, the Spygate of 2008, and the United States Grand Prix of 2005, new issues continue to emerge gradually. While waiting for more updates, feel free to check out the beginning of our series Legendary Rivalries on the left side. We will be expanding it with new videos. That's all from me for now. Have a great day.